Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing a bit of a deck profile for the commander of Liliana Heretical Healer. She is one of my favorite cards and I think this is a fantastic mono black commander. She costs 3 total, 2 black, 1 of any color, and has lifelink, and whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you exile Liliana and then return her to the battlefield transformed, and you create a 2/2 zombie. And on the other side, she becomes a planeswalker that starts with 3 loyalty, +2 makes everyone discard, and -X, you can revive something from the graveyard that costs X or less. And the ultimate is never gonna happen, but in case it does, you get an emblem whenever a creature dies, return to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. So basically the whole point is to try to flip Liliana as fast as possible, and for that we need sec outlets and payoffs from the graveyard. It's a reanimator deck. So yeah, let's get started with that. So this is our commander, we have tokens for that. And then to help us out, we have cards like Liliana Steward. You can basically tap him, sack, and make the opponent discard one. Shambling Gust, Pauper Staple. Whenever he dies, you can either give -1/-1 to something or make a treasure token. Champion of the Perished. It's going to give you a +1/+1 counter every time you play a zombie. We have a bit of a zombie package in here, but it's not quite zombie tribal. Carrion Feeder, it's a staple of course, sec outlet, very good, gains counters. Gravecrawler, it's a must-have with this zombie package. It's gonna keep coming back from the graveyard every single time. As long as we have a zombie, we are allowed to cast him from the graveyard. Moonshadow, this is something that I'm trying out. I think the card is overall pretty good in this deck. It starts with 6 -1/-1 counters as Menace, it's a 7/7. But every time a permanent goes to your graveyard, you remove a -1/-1 counter. So we actually have a couple of ways to trigger this, obviously by sacking creatures, because this is a sacrifice deck. But on top of that, Liliana's effect, when she's flipped into Planeswalker, we can use the discard effect and just discard a creature or discard a land, and this will trigger as well. This was here, it's a sec outlet, it's very good. Undead Augur is fantastic when you can pull it off. It's gonna let you draw cards every time a zombie you control dies. You lose 1 life as well, but it's still amazing. This card can almost go infinite sometimes because we have ways to actually just loop sec if we happen to have the perfect cards to that. There's some combos, but it's not infinite just because we'll lose the life. So, but still, good enough. Accursed Marauder, Pauper Staple, it's really good, it's a zombie. If you don't know what it does, it's just sack and force someone to sack something, so very good. Putrid Goblin has the Persist, it's very good as well. So we're gonna get him back if he dies, so this is a new inclusion. Postmortem Professor from Strixhaven cannot block, and whenever he attacks, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. But the reason why I actually wanted to put this card in the deck is if you pay 2, you can exile an instant or sorcery from the graveyard to bring him back to the field. The reason why I thought this card was very interesting is because while playing this deck, a lot of times I end up with my graveyard filled with instants and sorceries, and as I keep playing the game, right? But there's no way to take any advantage of those. We have ways to get things back from the graveyard, but only creatures. So instants and sorceries become dead cards in the graveyard, and this is something that can take advantage of those while also being a recursive card. So it is quite good because we can just sack it, pay 2, bring it back. It's almost like it's very similar to the Gravecrawler. A little worse, it's not as good of course, but it does have one small advantage because the Gravecrawler requires you to have a zombie on the field to even cast from the graveyard, while the Postmortem Professor, you can just cast him. So if you happen to have no zombies on the graveyard, you actually could, so you have no zombies on the field, you could have first bring the Postmortem, and then, since you actually have a zombie, now you can actually bring the Gravecrawler. So that is something nice about this card. I'm still gonna have to try this card, it's very new, so it's something to try out, but I think it's a good inclusion. Then we have Black Cat. It's a very simple card, but I actually really like it. It's just whenever he dies, the opponent discards a card at random. The fact that it's at random is really good, and it's also a zombie, so it will work with our zombie payoffs. Doughty Voidwalker is an absolute menace of a card. I don't think this card should be allowed, but it is. It has shadow, so basically it's practically unblockable, but it also cannot block. And if the opponent would put a card into the graveyard, it just goes to exile instead. So for as long as this thing is on the field, the opponent just can't put things in the graveyard. Everything goes to exile, but they go to exile with a counter, with a Doughty Voidwalker counter, or a Voidwalker counter. I think it's with a Void counter. So, and then you can tap and sacrifice him to cast the things that they put into exile. So the thing about this card is that if this goes on the field and the opponent doesn't deal with them, every card they cast that goes to the graveyard is now a tool in your arsenal. And if they make the mistake of removing another of your cards with an instant or a sorcery or something, and not removing this will become a menace, because it now is a instant speed, 0 mana removal, and that's a menace. I had an experience actually playing with a friend of mine when he used Swords to Plowshares to kill or to exile my Liliana, which went back to the command zone, leaving me with Doughty Voidwalker on the field, which allowed me to just have a immediate Swords to Plowshares on command whenever I desired, and that just won the game because the pressure is too much. This card is absolute insanity just because of the pressure. It's only 2 mana, it's a 3/2, this card is ridiculous. The only way it could be better in the deck is if it was a zombie. And another nice little thing is that because it sacrifices itself, it's also synergy with Liliana. Moving on, Marionette Apprentice. It's Modern Horizons, again, Modern Horizons in general, just stupid cards in general, but Marionette Apprentice is a very good card. Fabricates, makes a little token, and then it just pings the opponent every time something dies. The Legion Zealot is just nice card draw. He enters, you lose a life, you draw a card. Sometimes it's useful if you're really struggling. You can use Liliana's Revive effect. If you have no options in hand, just revive him to draw 1 card. Flashback Marauder is basically a Cursed Marauder, but worse. But still, we play both. It's removal, it's a zombie, it works. Now, one of my favorite inclusions in this deck is Plague Belcher. This is a 3 mana, 5/4 with Menace. And whenever this creature enters, you put 2 -1/-1 counters on a creature you control. You can put it on him, so he becomes a 3/2. But usually, you actually want to put it on another zombie. And then he has an effect that whenever another zombie you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. So he also has a ping effect. But the thing that is really nice about this card is that it basically is a sack outlet when he enters. So you can sack something, which can trigger things like flipping the Liliana or many of the other effects. And on top of that, you get a 5/4 with Menace. And a 5/4 with Menace sometimes is enough pressure to win the game. Just, you gotta deal with this. 5/4 with Menace is a lot for tiny leaders, so this is a lot of pressure. I really like this card actually. Headless Rider, this is one of the best payoffs we have in the deck as well. Whenever a zombie, another zombie or Headless Rider, it's a non-token, so non-token zombie, dies, you make a 2/2 zombie. So really good. Again, goes well with stuff like the Plague Belcher and all the other sack outlets. It's a really good payoff. And finally, to round off the creatures, we have Priest of Geeks. I mean, there's not much to say. It's just a dark ritual with legs. It's a very good card. Costs 3, but it actually costs 0. You get refunded the mana right away. So yeah, that's all the creatures right here. So that's it for the creatures. To move on, we have sorceries. Unearth. It's self-explanatory. You revive something that costs 3 or less. It's everything in this format. And then Profane Command. I really like this card actually. You can choose any value for X and then choose 2 of these effects. The first effect is target player loses X life. Second effect is return target creature with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Third effect is target creature gets -X/-X. And the last effect is up to X target creatures gain fear until the end of the turn. Fear is that they cannot be blocked except by artifact or black creatures. Very versatile, but what I like about this card is that it very much serves as a 2-for-1. A lot of the times I will choose the effect to -- something and the effect to revive something. And you can so basically kill something, something that has 2 toughness by giving, for example, X equals 2, if it's -2/-2. And then you can choose the effect for revive, and you can just revive any of the many creatures that cost 2. And if you happen to pay X equals 3, you can have even more targets. If you happen to have, for example, a Curse Marauder in the deck, this becomes a double removal because you kill something that's -X, could be 2 or 3 depending on what you pay, and then you revive the Cursed Marauder, and that's going to force them to sacrifice, so that's 2 creatures killed with 1 single spell. It's very efficient. I really like this card. Profane Command comes in clutch a lot. And finally, for sorceries, another card that I also really like, Lively Dirge. This card is amazing. You can pay Spree, you pay 2 + 1 + 2, but you're always gonna pay everything. This card basically costs 5, but it is legal in tiny leaders because the CMC is technically 2. But you're always gonna pay 5 for this card. There's very few situations where you wouldn't, but basically what it does is you're gonna search for a card in your graveyard, in your library, and put it into the graveyard. And then the other effect is going to let you return 2 creatures with a total mana value of 4 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. So basically you put anything you want in the deck in the graveyard and then revive that thing along with something else, as long as the CMC total is of 4 or less. There's a lot of combinations you can do with this, and it's really insane. Some of my absolute favorites is, for example, bringing a Priest of Geeks along with bringing a Shambling Gust. So if I happen to have one of them in the graveyard, I can just search the other and get them both out on the field at the same time. Priest of Geeks immediately refunds you 3 mana. And the thing is, there's another card we haven't gone through yet, but if you happen to have both of these, there's an infinite loop you can do in this deck. So these 2 are definitely one of the really good targets. Another card I will often target is also, of course, the Cursed Marauder. So Cursed Marauder, just really good, it's removal, it's great. And you can bring it, for example, alongside with Undead Ogre, which lets you draw a card. There's lots of combinations you can do. This card is really good, and just depending on whatever you have in your deck, you can make some really nice synergies. Moving on, Dark Ritual. Of course, the Rebecca Gay art, it's my favorite one. Really good card, accelerates the deck. Sometimes it's actually even worth just turn 1, Dark Ritual, Liliana, pass. It's a lot of pressure, they have to deal with it. And yeah. And then Village Rites, sack something, draw. Corrupted Conviction, it's the same thing. Fatal Push, it's the best removal in the format besides Swords to Plowshares, so really good card. And Requiting Hex. This is a card from Lorwyn, so it's a fairly new card, and this card is really good for the format as well. For just 1 black mana, you can destroy something with mana value 2 or less. And then you can also Blight as an additional cost, which is to put a -1/-1 counter on a creature. And if you do, you get 2 life. What I like about this card is that, first of all, it kills something CMC 2 or less, so it kills almost everything in the format, only doesn't hit the 3 drops. But besides that, you can do the Blight optionally, so it's just optional. But if you do happen to do it, you can use it in a very funny way in this format, in this deck, sorry, because this is practically a sack outlet. So if you are really struggling to just sack something to get like a trigger for Liliana or something, you can just put a Blight counter on something, and most creatures in this deck actually have a CMC, have a toughness of 1. So for example, if we look here, a Curse Marauder, technically this one is practically never going to be, but it can be sometimes on the field. But all of these, let's separate them just for sake of clarity. This sometimes, by technicality. Yeah, so all of these are cards you can potentially sacrifice, quote unquote, by using Requiting Hex. So this card can very well become a sec outlet. So it is very, very good. Instant speed, 1 mana, sacrifice, potentially gain life, kill something, potentially gain life and sack something. Very good. Then the file, it's a mono black deck. Of course, you're gonna play this. It gives -1/-1 for every swamp you control to a creature, so really good. Deadly Dispute, it's also obviously very good. Sacrifice something, draw 2 cards, make a treasure. Eviscerator's Insights, sacrifice something, draw 2 cards, has flashback for 5. Now, a card that I actually found that I had no idea existed, I just randomly found this in a binder. Mausoleum Secrets. This is an instant speed tutor. For 2 mana, you can search your library for a black card with a CMC of that's less than or equal to the number of creatures in your graveyard. Reveal it, put it in your hand, shuffle your library. So, if you have 30 creatures in the graveyard, you can search anything in the deck. The deck is mono black, so you can literally search anything besides the lands. It's the only thing you cannot search. And this is obviously really good. The deck has combos, and searching a combo piece with this can just win games sometimes. Instant speed is also really nice because you can just pass turn, hold on to removal, and if the removal is not necessary at the end of the turn, you will just instant speed search for what you need. Now, next we have Liliana's Triumph. Each opponent sacrifices a creature. If you control Liliana Planeswalker, you can then also make them discard the cards. So it's good. It's an edict that's also attached to a forced sacrifice, as long as you have Liliana, which you will. And then finally, Cathania Nightmare. This is, in my opinion, the best card in the entire deck, and it is absolute insanity. This is the one that makes all the combos work. This card is actually supposed to be a more balanced version of an older card, which I think it's the recurring nightmare, something like that. But the thing about this card is that it costs 2 instead of the older card, which costs 3. But this one has a downside that you get 3 energy, and then you can revive anything that's, CMC equal to that energy that you pay. The thing is, because the format is 3 or less, Cathania Nightmare is always going to revive anything, so you don't even actually need to track how much energy you have, because you're just always going to be able to target anything in the graveyard. This card is absolutely insane. So to explain the card a little better, when it enters, you get 3 energy, and then you can pay X energy and sacrifice a creature to return this card to your hand. And if you do, you can bring a card from the graveyard to the field that is CMC equal to, I think it's equal to or less, or it's probably exactly value X. Yeah, value X. So the amount that you paid in energy, you bring that creature from the graveyard to the field. So, and just to show how ridiculous this card can be, this is one of the combos. So if you have Cathania Nightmare, along with the card for, like I was mentioning before, the Shambling Ghast and the Priest of Geeks. These cards are one of the combos of the deck. This one just completely goes infinite, and if you have an extra card, you can actually win. But the thing is, this is not really a combo deck. These combos exist. They sometimes can work out, but the deck does not rely on them for your win condition to succeed. This is very much a mid-range deck. You have lots of good control tools, like lots of removal, ways to keep killing their creatures, gain value, make them discard your hand. But you also have pressure. You very much have aggression. You are not relying on your combos to win, but they can win you the game if you happen to have all the pieces. The way the combo works is, if you have the Shambling Ghast on the field and you have the Priest of Geeks in your graveyard, you will play the Cathania Nightmare for 2 mana. You will activate its effect, bringing it to your hand, sacrificing the Shambling Ghast, and you will return the Priest of Geeks to the field. The Priest of Geeks will give you 3 mana, and then with those 3 mana, you can just replay the Cathania Nightmare. Cathania Nightmare will then activate its effect. You will bring it back to the hand. You will sacrifice the Priest of Geeks, bring back the Shambling Ghast. Shambling Ghast, when he died, he gives you a treasure. So you still have 1 mana left from the Priest of Geeks, and you have 1 treasure. And with that, that's 2 mana, and you can recast Chthonian Nightmare. You can do this loop over and over again, but like, what are you getting out of this? Well, any of the many sack outlets triggers. So for example, if you have a Plague Belshire on the field with you, this is a pinger that will just ping them to death. If you have Marionette Apprentice on the field while this is happening, same thing. If you have Undead Ogre on the field while this is happening, you draw as many cards as you want until you die. So you gotta be careful with that. You do lose a life every time you draw. If you have, for example, a Champion of the Perished on the field, every time this re-enters, it's another +1/+1 counter. If you have Moonshadow, every time something is gonna go on the graveyard from this combo, it's gonna lose a counter. And if you have, for example, what was it? And if you have, this is probably one of the, along with those two that actually just win the game right away, this one is practically a game win as well. If you have Headless Writer, along with these, every time the Shambling Gas dies, you're gonna make a zombie. So basically you're gonna pass turn with 1,000,000 zombies on the field, so that's practically a win, unless they have a way to board wipe everything. So yeah, these are the many ways that you can make this loop become extremely deadly. That is it for the card by card. We went over all the cards. The rest is lands. I am playing 1 copy of Midgar, City of Mako. It's sometimes useful because it's another way to sacrifice. The deck really wants to sacrifice things. And this is a way that you can do that and draw cards. Also, it's still gonna give you black mana anyway. It just intercept, that's an unfortunate thing, but in the early game, that's a problem. Later in the game, it doesn't matter. And everything else is basic lands. So this deck is currently playing a total of 16 lands. I was playing 17 before, but I was a bit greedy and I put it down to 16. That's the general gist of the deck. You just want to kind of control the early game, put pressure on, force him to sacrifice and discard cards. And that's it. That is the deck profile for Liliana Heretical Healer. Thank you for watching.